Hey guys, I have talked about Dr. Brown's bottles before, but I wanted to show you exactly how they work and then some tips and tricks that I have as well. Mercy is a special needs baby. She was born with what's called Pierre-Robin sequence, and then she also has Stickler syndrome. Pierre-Robin sequence means that her jaw was pushed back and she has a cleft palate in the back of her mouth. In a U shape. And when she was born, because her mouth was smaller from her jaw being pushed back, and because of that cleft palate, her tongue would fall back into her airway and she could not breathe. So she was intubated immediately after birth. We did not know that she had any of this. They took her off to NICU, and then we actually, well, my husband and her took a jet to a children's hospital, and I stayed behind. It was a C-section, and so I had to stay behind for a couple of days and recover before I could go up there. But she was taken up there. And then at 5 days old, she had jaw distraction surgery to break her jaw and put in a pin, and the pins came out behind her ears. And then every day they turned those pins to move her jaw out. They turned them twice a day, and she was intubated the whole time. And then eventually she was able to be extubated because her jaw had been pushed out far enough that her airway was clear. And so she still has the cleft palate. She will not have the palate repair until she's about a year old. She's almost 10 months old, and I do hope to do a video again with her really soon just to kind of update on how the surgery preparation is going. But I wanted to talk about the bottles that she had to use and has to use still, because she has very low suck ability. She really is not able to suck at all, which is the reason why she doesn't breastfeed. I did pump for about 6 months, but I also had to supplement at the same time. And so from the onset, when we first started teaching her to use a bottle in NICU, we started with the Dr. Brown's bottles. Now, they weren't this big. They were the little short 4-ounce bottles. These are the 8 ounce. This is what she's graduated to now. But they were the short 4-ounce bottles, and I think we started with a level 1 nipple, and we quickly went to the level 2, and these have a 2 written on them. It just means that it gives a little bit more flow to it. These are normal Dr. Brown's bottles. If you're familiar with them, these are totally normal bottles, but they have a special valve for cleft palate babies. And you can kind of see it's just this round valve, and it goes inside the nipple here, just like that. Really simple. And then into the ring. And the rest of the Dr. Brown stuff is totally normal. You know, this piece that goes in here, it's in here, and then this just screws on, and you can see that blue valve in there. You can see it's in there. So when we were teaching her to feed, and that's what kept us in the NICU for 6 weeks, was she had to learn how to eat, and she had to take all of her bottles and all of her food via Dr. Brown's bottles rather than being tube fed before we could go home. And we had some instances where nurses did not know about this nifty little valve, so we kind of had to keep them informed about how this all worked. But I am so thankful for Dr. Brown's bottles, because otherwise we would have been using like a pigeon feeder or Haberman feeder. They have the long nipple on them, and you kind of have to manipulate it yourself. This, however, allows for her to suck, and whatever she does with her mouth allows the milk to come out. So once we had the bottle filled up, we would just kind of push on the nipple a little bit, and it would fill up with milk. And the thing that you would notice about it is that it doesn't go back down. The milk stays up there, so that anytime she moves her mouth on that nipple, a little bit of milk comes out. And it depends on the size of the nipple how much is coming out, but she could just barely suck, and she would get milk into her mouth and down in her tummy, and we would be good. And so eventually, like I said, after 6 weeks, we were able to go home. Now, one thing about these bottles that nobody told me about was how messy they are. Because any little motion she made would allow milk to come out, she didn't have a lot of control, like muscle tone in her mouth. And so, I mean, it would just be like dribbling out the sides, and I would have to really work to make sure that she was getting all of the milk. So, in order to keep clean and keep her as clean as possible, I would tuck big old blankets. So, I got the big muslin swaddling blankets, and I would wrap those, around like this, and then you have to hold baby so that their arms are both in front and their head is here, and you kind of have to prop a little bit in the beginning. Now, as she's gotten older, I don't have to prop her as much. But I mean, there were times we were literally holding her sitting up and then both hands in front, because if you put a hand behind, like I was used to, that milk, because they're turned in, is just dribbling out the side of their mouth. So you keep them facing very much straight forward or straight on, and both of those arms out helps you to do that. But I would still tuck that blanket around her little chin there, and then I would use the bottom of it to just kind of wipe. And if she started to kind of chortle and choke, we'd pull it out and we'd start again. And that it was a big trial and error. It was over and over and over, just a lot of patience, a lot of moving her jaw in the beginning to help her eat. Another thing that we realized was that she had silent reflux, and that was causing some of her issues as well. So the choking and all of that was actually silent reflux. She did not have the spitting up reflux, but you could hear her re-swallowing, and then her breath was kind of sour smelling. And so that's how we knew that she had that silent reflux. So once we took care of that, it really, really helped with the feeding issues as well. And she does not take meds for that anymore. She was off those meds by the time she was about 4 months old. We were able to get her off of the Zantac. So because these leak so bad, I have a couple of tips for you on that. One is that it does come with this piece. And so if you're going to take these bottles anywhere, you have got to put that piece on there. But you also have to make sure that you don't have any milk in here, because whatever's in here is going to go ahead and spill out as well. So you put the little piece over the top and you just drop it in, and you do this, and then you cap it. This all comes with it. It also comes with this little cleaner. This is to go up into the inside of this piece. However, I ran across a bigger one, and I actually like the bigger one better. Another thing that we used that we really liked to clean the nipples and these pieces were these. These are the mouth swabs, like the dental swabs that they use in NICU. If you can get your hands on several of these, take them home, because they make really great cleaners. That's something I learned from another NICU mom, and if you can, learn from other NICU moms, watch them, get on a forum where they're talking about things like this, because typically, if you're a NICU mom, there's a good chance you're probably going to be going back to the hospital at some point, or you're going to have a lot of appointments, and there's going to be some things that you will need to learn. And I have found that other moms who are in the same situation as me are the ones that I have learned the most from, and that's why I wanted to share these things too. So, real quick too, when you go to shake these bottles, because you can't shake them like a normal bottle because they're gonna get everywhere, you actually want to keep like these kind of things. This is off of the breastfeeding bottles, like my storage bottles. And I just kept these, this is a Medela one, I just kept these around so that I could shake the bottle, because you can't hold your finger over the nipple and shake it. You're going to end up with milk everywhere. So keep those around. And then I really like these bottle brushes. This one is from Munchkin, and it has the sponge at the top. I have found that the ones that just have this stuff, whatever it is, it's not enough to clean these bottles, because if you'll notice, there's a tapering in here. And then down here, what you can't probably see is the fact that there is a ring around the bottom there. Stuff gets caught in there. It's terrible. And without one that has a sponge on it, without a bottle brush that has a sponge on it, you really can't get down into those cracks. So get yourself one of these. And I will have all the links down in the notes for you so that you can see exactly what I'm using. Because I just got this off of Amazon. I couldn't even find one of these in like the regular discount stores and stuff. I couldn't find one, so I had to order mine off of Amazon. Now, something really cool about these bottles that I realized as Mercy was getting older was that I could switch from these #1 and #2, and I could go to these. Can you see the Y on there? There's the Y. These are Y nipples, and the reason they're Y nipples is, I don't know if you can see that, but they have a Y shape cut into them up there at the top. These don't leak as bad. So once your baby is like, I think Mercy was like 6 months old or 7 months, maybe she was 7 months when I switched to these. And these don't leak as bad. Yes, there's more of a flow, but if you feel like your baby is able to handle the flow, get these nipples instead, because they are not nearly so leaky. And so that really started saving her outfits and not having to have such big things around her neck. I really just tuck a little bit by her neck now, and that's just to catch any dribbles that she may have. But these don't leak like the 1 and 2, and I think there's a 3 nipple like they do. So if you can get your hands on these, I ordered mine from Amazon. Again, can't get them in the store, it seems like. So look on Amazon, and I'll have that link down there as well. So there you go. That is the Dr. Brown's specialty feeder with the cleft palate valve in it. And that is what we have used, and I am so very thankful for these. If you have a baby with a cleft palate, definitely look into these. And I hope that some of the tips and tricks I gave you will help you with your baby.